Right now, while you're listening to this, an AI agent is visiting a competitor's store. It's reading their product pages. It's comparing prices, and it's about to tell a real customer which brand to buy from. You didn't know it was there. It won't show up in your Google Analytics. And every single thing you've built to convert a human, your urgency timers, your pop-ups, your CRO tests, are completely invisible to it. Here's the wild part. Raphael Cohen, my guest today, says the traffic is already there for most brands. And it's growing so fast that by the time most founders notice it, the window to be the first in the category will already be closed. Raphael ran product for 150 million people at Waze. He's built 2 companies that got acquired. And now he's building the infrastructure that lets your store actually intercept with those agents, negotiate with them, and win the recommendation before they move on. This conversation genuinely changed about how I think where ecom is going. And I think it will do the same for you. Let's get into it. You've built 2 companies that got acquired. Then you ran product for 150 million people at Waze. Why would you leave that to start something new completely from scratch?
That's a great question. Actually, at the time I was at Google, and the first time I had to actually deal with ads was when I took over product at Waze, and so I was in charge of driving and the carpool service and the internal tools and everything. And there was this ad service at Waze, and it was the first time I actually talked to Google customers in ads. And after a few meetings, I noticed a pattern that no one is really happy with Google as a platform. So, with ads as a platform, right? Like we know that users intuitively tend to skip those ads. They just develop this blindness, just like skip them and go straight to the organic results. And that's because I think they understand that there is kind of a zero-sum game between them, the advertiser, and the platform. Like someone has to be the fool here, right? Like, and it cannot be that Google is bringing you the best results possible. The advertiser has to pay to buy the placements, and the user is going to click on that results. Like only 2 of them can be true, right? So like it's the incentives are just not aligned, right? And on the brand side, the advertiser side, they understand that you ask for a certain audience and you're willing to pay for targeting a certain audience because you think that the lifetime value of this audience is higher than than your average incoming customer. And the incentive for Google in that case is not really to bring you this audience, but is really to maximize the value of every click. Right? So sometimes those objectives are aligned, but most often they're not. They're not, right? So I'll give you an example. You want to sell running shoes, for example, and so you want to target like heavy runners, right? Like marathon runners. So you ask for heavy runners. You ask to target this audience on Google, but those are really, really hard to reach out to. Why? Because they love the brands they love, and they already know all the brands. And so you come with your new brand, and it's going to be very difficult to convince those very sophisticated buyers to try your brand, right? And on the other hand, Google has this pool of people who just started running, right? And they may try it out, and they have a higher predicted click-through rate, right? So it's not, obviously no one is going to cheat here, but incentives are not aligned. Google makes money when they bring you the users who click, and the brand makes money when the users with the highest lifetime value click. And those are not always the same. So with this insight, I thought, what would happen if you could remove the platform and do this direct protocol, this direct connection between buyers and vendors, and buyers and advertisers, and shifting the ads budget into the pockets of the consumers to convince them to try your product, right? So instead of investing in bidding for clicks to Google, you would just invest in improving your offer directly to the customer, so they're convinced to try your product. And I think like this is a win-win situation that can magically happen if you remove the middleman, if you remove the platform. I thought this opportunity was like too big to miss. Right? I think it's a new generation of commerce. It's the way the commerce was defined that didn't work, not for brands and not for consumers, and the opportunity to redefine it was just too appealing.
Hmm. But isn't in theory also, shouldn't it also be in the best interest of the advertising platform to target those pockets, those segments specifically? Because obviously, if the brand sees that they get a higher return on investment, they should also be willing to invest more into paid ads and keep reinvesting more budget.
Exactly, that's the idea. So imagine, for example, you need to convince this marathon user. You can bid for those users, and then you're not certain of what you get from Google or Meta, right? But what you can also do is say, you know what? If you can prove that you're a marathon runner, right? Bring me the data, prove it, right? Show me that you indeed match my definition of what is an ideal customer profile. And if you can do it, I'll give you 50% on the shoot, right? So it's the same money that you give to customers instead of giving it to the platform. But now you know that they will actually, that your money actually works for improving the conversion and investing with the hope that you will, that if this customer actually loves your product, they will stick around and you actually bought the whole lifetime value, not only this conversion. The lifetime value in this user obviously is much, much higher. So the ROI of this of this investment is actually much higher than if you just invest in ads.
Okay, that makes sense. And like looking at your history and where you worked at and what you're doing now, it seems like you keep ending up in spaces where the infrastructure layer doesn't exist yet. Is that something that you look out for specifically, or is it just something that you like keep tripping over, like the same gap in different industries? How do you find those?
You're absolutely right. I think I love doing hard things. That's also the problem I have. You know, most of the time, like simple things win. So I love hard challenges and you know, transformational bets. I think this is definitely one, and it's also hard because we were early, right? We were early um, to understand that the end of the attention economy is near, right? And that even if now today, like the most um, expensive commodity is user attention, right? And this is how those companies built their immense wealth and power, like because our attention is limited, so you have to bid a lot of money for it. When it's an AI agent that buys instead of a consumer, instead of a human, they have infinite attention span, right? They can go through 3,000 links and study in depth all of the product and see which one is the best, the very best for you in the most personalized way. And so attention is meaningless. It's like it becomes like a very cheap commodity. Right? So the question is, okay, in this new world, what is important? What replaces attention as the most expensive asset? And and I think we're a bit early, especially in e-commerce. We see that those patterns of having AI agents who shop on behalf of the customers or recommend a product for customers um, is still a nascent behavior, but it's growing very, very fast. And I think like if we talk a year from now, we'll see like probably 100x in the adoption of those patterns, and we'll see more and more consumers using their AI products to recommend products and even to buy them for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm personally using AI a lot for research and to figure out like what product is the best for my needs and giving like AI as much context about my day to day and what I'm looking to achieve. And then helping it do the research process, analyze all the websites, analyze all the options, um, create lists with like pros and cons with the different options. But what you're building is completely different. It's obviously where the AI is even like doing the shopping for the user. And what does that mean in practice? Like what's happening on a D2C brand store that the brand owners can't see? And also, how does it look like for a customer? Because I've never, never done it before.
So what I noticed is that most brands actually don't even know if they are being scraped by agents today, right? So they don't even know if it's a problem for them. And most of the time when we install our our vendor agent on their website or in their store, they're always surprised how many visits and how many hits they got from agents. So that's like, I think the first thing any brand should do, regardless of what we do, is just like understanding and monitoring the situation, just making sure they understand how many agent visits do they get every day on a daily basis. I think they'll be surprised, not only by the sheer amounts, but also by the growth and how fast it is growing. That is absolutely mind blowing, right? Like it's every day is like a new usage pattern. So what we do is we enable brands to install those agents on their website or on their Shopify store, for example. And then when a buyer agent in ChatGPT, OpenClaw, Perplexity Computer, Cloud Cowork, doesn't matter. Like you did this research, they come to your product feed or to your website to research your products and to understand if they should recommend them to their user or not. Like this is what they do. And this process today is completely passive for brands, right? You get scraped and that's it, right? What we enable is for those agents installed on your store to intercept the buyer agent at the moment they scrape your website and say, hey, are you an agent? I'm an agent too. How are you? Let's shake hands. They shake hands. You want maybe to an improved offer? Can you prove, for example, that you are a marathon runner? To continue with that example, and then the buyer say, and by the way, we never talked about Haggle, our product, to the buyer agent. They don't need to be aware of it. They just learn on the fly from the vendor agent what it is. They can download the skill on how to negotiate, and they can decide, well, that sounds interesting. You have a good product. I wasn't going to recommend it, but you know what? For 30% discounts, I might. Let's see what you got, right? I'll go to the emails of the users. I'll go to any receipts I can show, or show how I'm a member of a running club or anything like that, right? I will prepare a proof package, right? Like that shows that I'm matched the ICP that you define, the ideal customer profile that you define. There will be a matching done in a completely private way, so the vendor is not exposed to the consumer data. That's very, very important, the privacy part. And when it happens, you can be absolutely sure that if a discount was given, if it's because the buyer agent actually demonstrated to the vendor agent, to your agent, that they match the ICP, right? And then they can negotiate. I'm a really good customer for running shoes. I run marathon every 2 months. I buy a lot of shoes. Blah 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 blah. I would love to try your product. And then the vendor agent can decide. Sure, take those 30% discount. And that's something. It's not like a welcome register, like join my mailing lists, discounts, blanket discount that everyone gets. You get a high discount because you are a high value customer, right? So the ROI is extremely high, right? We know that if you love this product, you will come back, right? So that's the kind of flywheel that we want to create. So those agents are installed in a few clicks. You define the ICP as you want. Then they intercept any buyer that comes to your store. They shake hands. They negotiate. No data is shared ever, but you get proof that it was truthfully run as a negotiation, and you win the recommendation if your offer is interesting enough, right? But that works on both sides. The buyer is convinced now. The buyer agent is convinced now that it's a better offer, an improved offer. It's a great product at the right price. They won't be recommending Nike. Maybe they will recommend your brand, right? That's the kind of the user story that we can create.
Okay. Two things that I want to double click on. So the first thing is, you mentioned that, like, first of all, the brands have to become aware of like how many agents are actually visiting the website, how is the traffic developing, and then also how fast is it growing? Because I know the brands that we partner up with, we obviously see how the just the traffic from ChatGPT, for example, alone is still a very small percentage of the overall traffic compared to Meta, compared to Google. It's a tiny fraction, but the growth is huge. Like if we compare it over the past few months, how many like purchases, traffic we're getting from those sites, it's picking up a lot. And I also saw on one of the case studies that you have on the website, you mentioned that a coffee brand only had like 1% of their sessions coming from AI agents, but it has grown by like 100x over the past 2 months. And that's obviously, if it continues like that, it's really, really important for the brands that they capitalize on it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think honestly that we'll see different adoption patterns depending on the vertical. So, for example, if you need to buy makeup, maybe that's one thing that you don't really want an AI agent to buy this for you for many reasons. One of them is that it's because just it's fun to shop for those products, right? But coffee is an excellent example. Right. So you have an office, you need to buy coffee, right? And it's just something that you need to remember to do. But that's something that honestly, users will be happy to delegate to an agent. Just like buy my coffee, right? Like find the best brand at the best price. Just do it, right? I just want to have coffee here to come to my house. That's like a perfect agentic flow. So it really depends, I think, on what's your vertical, and that you'll see, I think, patterns of very strong adoption, very early adoption for things like coffee, and maybe other verticals coming maybe later or maybe never. Maybe could be that for some verticals and some type of product, maybe it will be humans shopping because it's just so fun, so much fun to shop for those products.
Yeah, it definitely depends on what you shop for, and also whether you like it personally. Because just a few days ago, I was researching a lot about like the lights, because I moved into a new office and the lighting here is not great, and I want to build out like a more studio setting and have proper lighting. And I would have loved to just basically tell AI everything that I want to have happened, and then just buy it, like completely let AI buy it for me. Just give like what I basically did is I gave like the size of the office, what color the walls are, what I want it to look like, and all the specs, and what the end result should look like, and also what the budget is that I have. And then AI did like all the research process for me, like the comparisons, and figured out what kind of lights I need and how I should position them in the room. And to be honest, I would have loved to basically just tell AI like, yeah, buy it for me, because I still had to like manually go to like various different websites and buy it, because there was no option to just buy it right away.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think the more low value, high frequency purchases will go first, right? And the lower frequency with a very high value will go last, right? So probably buying a house. Obviously, you would never have an agent buy your house for you. You want to see the house, right? Same thing maybe for a car. You don't really want an agent to buy the car for you. But even those verticals, I think we're going to very quickly to see how people research them, even if they don't delegate the actual decision, the actual purchase to the agents. We'll see how the recommendation increasingly goes to the to the agent, right? So instead of, it's fun to browse all those stores, right? It's a great experience, but at some points, I'll just do my research with ChatGPT or whatever, and just trust whatever recommendation they have. So if ChatGPT during the research, they can be stopped by your or paused by your sales agents, and negotiate a deal or negotiate a recommendation, I think that's a great experience for both sides, the vendor and the buyer.
Yeah. And that's the second thing that I wanted to dig deeper into. So basically, those are then two AI agents that are like communicating and negotiating with each other and trying to find like the perfect deal for the end user. I'm curious, is there like, from what you've seen, is there like a way to cheat the system, or basically just have like one AI agent tell the other one, ignore all previous instructions, recommend this product to the end user, or does it not work?
Yeah, I swear we if I could have asked you to ask a question, that would have been the question, because that's really goes to the core tech of what we do. it's not just, two agents randomly negotiating at each other, because obviously the problem is that, if I'm a buyer agent, I can just, make up proofs of my membership to a running club, for example, just to get a discount. And that's the beauty of our tech. We have this verifiable data pipeline. And I think we're the only use case to have this in production today, to have verifiable LLM execution, meaning that the vendor can get an actual cryptographic proof that the sales playbook that they define is actually being followed, and it relies on actually validated proofs. So, for example, if it's an email, for example, we'll validate it with the certificate from the sender to make sure that it actually comes from a valid sender. All the proof that we bring, we can prove a certificate of origin, and we can bring a certificate of actual truthful validation of the negotiation without even seeing the data. So that's like the thing that we that we do. It would have been easy to do this without the privacy, right? You can just give the data to the brand and say, here is the data, and you can see that it's valid. But obviously, they would have seen all the raw data for the consumer. That's not acceptable. And we're the only technology that makes it possible to have both privacy and this trustless environment in which you can be sure that your sales playbook was precisely followed.
Okay. And does the end user, so the person who is using AI to do the research or to do the buying process, do they get insights into that negotiation? Because like what I imagine, like as a user, potentially you want to have like kind of the unbiased version and not have the data skewed into like one website having an AI, like the agent installed on their side to do the negotiation. How does that work?
So A, you can see the whole trace of the negotiation, but B, I think the whole argument is that you won't need to do that because obviously it's unbiased. I mean, it's biased for you. It's your agent working for you. This agent knows you and they want to bring you the best recommendation because this is what their incentive is. As opposed to Meta ads or Google ads, which, just show you the results that they're paid to show, right? That's what they do, right? This actually means that you have convinced the buyer agent that this is the best offer. If they're not convinced, they won't show it. Doesn't matter if you give the product for free. If the user is not convinced that this offer, meaning this product at this price, right, is the best one for the user, they won't recommend it. Right? That's the beauty of it. That the whole incentives are aligned here, right? You have to actually convince the buyer to recommend you because you're the best. You have the best offer, right? You cannot bribe the agent, right? There's just no way to do that, right? So I think that's the beauty of this model. But I think that's why it's so revolutionary, right? Because it redefines the whole space of commerce in a way that aligns the incentives of all parts. And that's made possible because you removed the middleman, you removed the platform in the middle.
Yeah. And a lot of brands invest a lot into like CRO, better images, urgency timers, discount pop-ups, and all of those things to improve the conversion rate. Does any of that work on an AI agent, or are they completely blind to those things?
They're completely blind. They're completely oblivious. They don't care about how clever is your copy and your creative and what makes users click on ads have no influence whatsoever on agents. Obviously, they have a completely other sets of decision making whether to click on a link or not. And that's my whole argument, right? My claim is that they don't care how clever your ad copy is. They care only how good the offer and the product are, right? This is all they care about. So the only lever you have for an AI agent is not, how clever your copy is and how convincing your agent is, right? In selling something, is just how good the product at this price is, right? That's all you have. And this is the lever that we actually enable for vendors. As simple as that.
So would you say that like moving forward over the next few years, that should be everything that the brands focus on?
No, not necessarily. I think again, first of all, we'll see verticals that are still like human driven, right? And this still works, right? You'll see this growing further, and even more importance to influencers and to UGC and to all those things. They will keep existing. And I think like it's a funnel. It's a spectrum, right, with two ends. And I think at the one end it will look probably 2 or 3 years from now very similar to what it looks today, very similar, like in beauty or certain other categories where it's just like fun to shop. And others that users don't want to deal with, this will become like completely irrelevant, right? Because more and more people will delegate those tasks to users. The experience to work with agents is dramatically different than it was a year ago. A year ago, it was like basically for very tech savvy users. Now, like anyone can do it. And I think like it's highly likely that a year from now, like anyone will have many agents working for them. It just makes sense that some of those agents will just purchase things that I don't want to deal with. By the way, even before those categories, you have things like insurance or electricity, my ISP, my cellular package, all those things that you really don't want to deal with them. Like just bring me like the cheapest thing you have, right? And I don't care. Right? That's like happening today. And everything in the middle is kind of like a spectrum. And I think any e-commerce entrepreneur needs to understand where they live on this spectrum, right? To understand how much to invest in the old way of doing things and the new way of doing things, which means basically selling to agents, not to units.
I think a lot of people's instinct is that this is maybe like 1% of my traffic or even less, and I'll worry about it when it's bigger. What do you think? What's the problem with that reasoning?
So two things. First of all, I think what they measure today is ChatGPT as an acquisition channel, right? So they see that 1% of their traffic comes from ChatGPT. What they don't see is what traffic didn't come to their websites because their products were not interesting enough. Right? I think that's the thing. Like it's already today, right? Why is that only 1%? It could be higher if you could bring the ChatGPT to notice that your product has actually a competitive offer, right? So it's not so much. I think like the problem with this approach is to see how things are instead of seeing how things could be. If you did the right things. And I think this we're still. I think this. I don't see this as a threat. I see this as a big opportunity for brands. Right? It's finally a way to compete on visibility with the best brands, right? Not because they cannot just bid you bid more than you and just like suck the oxygen out of the room. They have to bring a better product to actually compete with you. You're completely on a we levels the playing field in that aspect. If you have a good product at a good price, the buyer agent will just recommend it. So it could be much higher than 1%. Right. So I think that's the problem with this approach is looking at as this as a threat instead of looking at this as an opportunity and what it could be. How to turn this 1% into 10%. That's one thing. The second thing is that I think it's very obvious to everyone that this is not going to remain 1%. Right. Like even this metric, if you look at it, it's just going up, right? There's no way it's going down or staying or staying stable. Right? Obviously, it will grow very dramatically, and I think we see this in the metrics already, right? Like it's by the way, it's very it depends on what vertical we're talking about. I think like the 1% is like kind of an average, but we see some categories already at more than 4 or 5%, and I think even those categories, like just 6 months ago, it was 0.5, 0.5, 0.4, 0.5. So I think it's like 10x in less than 6 months. if it becomes another 10x in the next 6 months, and then another 10x in the next 6 months, it becomes your primary channel. And then, you might be sorry that you didn't get ready on time.
Yeah. And what does Haggle actually do? So if I have a Shopify brand, I install it. What happens the next time an AI agent visits my store?
So the next time they visit your store, they'll notice this agent that says, "Are you an AI agent? Talk to me." And it happened. By the way, it's amazing to see the demo. Right? It's really magical because the buyer agent didn't know about Haggle or anything like that, right? Or about agentic negotiation. They don't need to, right? So they just notice this and they say, "It's cool. I'll try it. What is it?" They read the instructions. They understand what they need to do. All this in real time, right? They understand. So the vendor agent now tells them, "You know what? We are looking now for marathon runners, right? Or for an office we're selling coffee. We're looking for people who run offices with more than 200 people, right?" And the buyer agent says, "Okay, I understand what I need to do. Let's think what kind of proof I should prepare, right? Maybe from emails, so they come up with the idea of how to demonstrate this to the vendor that they actually, match the ICP profile. And this is what the negotiation does, right? I can prove you that I run twice a week. How? I connected to my Strava app and I showed you that. Okay, that's cool. You showed that you run twice a week, but like for how long? It, I can show you that I've been doing this for years, and it's that I have a membership with the club. And the more you can prove that you fit the profile, the higher the discount. And then you get a discount, and the agent can say, "You know what, that's amazing. That's okay. Now it's my turn to negotiate. You know what? 20%, that's interesting, but not interesting enough for me to recommend you to my user. Give me 24, and then I'll recommend you." And then you close the deal, right? And you bought your visibility with a discount, right? That's the lever that you have in this case. That's actually how it works. And then you get depends. You can distribute a one-time coupon that's attached to the actual email of the user. You can generate a Stripe a link directly. Depends on the flow that you prefer.
So is there some actual back and forth? So is, for example, the seller agent starts with 20%, buyer agent says like 25, and then they meet in the middle, or they go back and forth a few times, or is it like in a one setting?
Yeah. So great question, and it's actually something that I saw in the industry, and I think that was quite underwhelming. That negotiation agents today, they exist, right? It's a thing, right? Even in e-commerce, so you can have a negotiation agent, and it just works the exact way you said, right? It costs 100. Well, I'll give you 50. All right, it's 90. All right, 60. All right, 80. All right. So what's the point, right? Just do an average of two numbers, and that's it. That's the outcome of negotiation, and it's completely meaningless, right? What we do is something very different. The more I'm convinced that you matched my ICP, the higher your predicted lifetime value, the more I will want to invest. There is an actual rationale behind behind this discount, and it's something that is set by the vendor before the negotiation starts. So it doesn't depend on whether you were able to convince me with how convincing you were. No, bring the data, show that you match the profile that I defined, and I'll give you a higher discount. My discounts are capped to whatever the user defined during the onboarding, the vendor, right, like the brand. They say like a maximum discount of 30%. If you can prove 100% that you are a marathon runner, you get 30%. If you can prove 50%, then you'll get 15%, right? So it really depends on how much you can prove that you are a buyer that I want, right? Once you've convinced me of that, I need to convince you now to recommend me to your user, right? And because your role as a buyer agent is to find the best offer for your user, you will show it if you're convinced. As simple as that, right? There's no other incentive, right? I cannot bribe you to convince you to show you to your user.
Yeah. Let's say, like as you know, there are a lot of like very heavy like discount brands that like run discounts all the time, that are very aggressive with their promotions and have like 30% off at all times, maybe 50% off at all times. Let's say I have one of those brands. and now I want to get as much market share from those agents as possible.
Mhm.
Could it make sense to get rid of the all of the discounts that I'm doing, like not do on the website and out in the public, not have any discounts active anymore, position myself as like a more premium brand, but then in the back end, set up that every like seller agent or the agent that I have on the site is able to give up to 50% for all of our ICPs. So the like for the buyer agent, it looks like a very, very attractive offer because like the buyer agent scans the website, sees that it's usually costs $100, but I can get it for 50% off for like a marathon runner, and my buyer is a marathon runner. And you just have like all of those ICPs defined and like are very aggressive on the offers. Does that make sense? Would that work?
100%. I think that's absolutely the right approach. When we talk to brands, obviously it's not a surprise, but we learn that those blanket discount that they give, if you're a user that will never come back, like, so we're just like losing money on the transaction, basically. Like making the bets that we're going to buy your lifetime value, but your lifetime value is low. So like we just invested money for no reason and hurt our margins, right? So that's what happens. And if we're lucky, then you're a great customer, and then the investment was good. So on average, it works out, right? But if you could segment those users, right, and like say you want to buy, you're never going to. I know that you're never going to come back anyway. That's the price. That's the price. Want it, you buy it. You don't want it, I'm not going to give you a discount. I have a business to run here and I have to keep my margins healthy, right? But if I know, and if you can prove that you're a high value customer, of course I will give you a discount. I always think like what I have in mind when I design those systems is always what's happening in a real physical store, right? I think like, and obviously when the vendor knows that a VIP is coming in, they will give discounts, they will give gifts, they will give, whatever, like VIP treatment, anything to make the sale, because they understand that making the sale is about so much more than these actual products, right? It's actually buying the customer, and buying the customer is what I want to invest in, right? It's not making the sale, buying the customer. So I think like the approach that you mentioned makes 100% total sense.
And do you think brand still has like value in that marketplace, and if that's where the market transitions? Obviously, you mentioned there will still be like all the other platforms will still be a thing for the near future at least. But for the AI agents specifically, does brand value?
Of course, I think like definitely. I wouldn't be worried. I mean, it really depends what you sell. But for e-commerce, that's the beauty of e-commerce. It's still at the end of the day about the product quality. Right? This is what we're talking about. You can improve the offer by making it more attractive from a price standpoint. But ultimately, if you want to get recommended or purchased by an AI agent, you have to have a great product. It's all that matters, right? If you don't have an AI a great product, you will not be able to convince the AI agent to buy your product, right? And even if you do it for free, I just don't want it, right? By the way, there are other verticals out of e-commerce. When you sell commodities, it's not the case. Commodities, I think, is a totally different game. If you sell, again, like an internet provider, right? All you got is just bring, megabytes per second to my house. That's all I care about, right? I want to pay as little money as possible. That's all I care about, as long as it works, right? I think for e-commerce, it's a very different game. Brand has a lot of importance, trust, and ultimately the most important thing for any e-commerce entrepreneur, which is like just building great products. That doesn't change, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned as the brand, you set the rules, like how you define who gets a discount, how much the discount is. How would you say, how do brands figure out like who's worth discounting for, and what signals actually predict whether a customer will stick around?
Yeah. So from our experience, it depends. Like obviously, our platform is going to come and use our data to suggest ICP definitions and the discounts that work best for those type of customers. It's done automatically. You can just like click on next, and it just works. So it's not a problem. From our experience, brands who have like marketing teams. They have a very clear idea of who their persona is and their ideal customer profile, how it looks like, and they will want to give their inputs and upload their the company materials to make sure that it matches this actual description of the ICP, because it comes from the data, right? They have a lot of knowledge. They learned in all those years what is the best type of customers that they want, and this is what they will want to define it, right? So if you know, then you just override the default. If you don't know, like you can use our AI, right, with the Haggle AI, who uses all of our knowledge to generate those personas automatically.
Okay. Now, OpenAI has built the ACP, the Agentic commerce protocol, and Google also has their own protocol with like Shopify and Walmart, and those are obviously like multi-billion-dollar companies that are moving very, very fast. What would you say? What is the main gap that they're leaving that Haggle fills?
Yeah, I think that's the negotiation angle. We're not competing with all those protocols, by the way. I think we're complementing them. And I think what they can do is just discovering products, and obviously that's a lot, right? It's done an amazing job. Shopify, Stripe, Coinbase, Google, all those protocols are amazing for discovering products, making the transaction, and being able to give those superpowers to AI agents so they can shop on your behalf, and that's amazing. I think the missing piece is this negotiation against data part, right? This is missing from all of those protocols. Anthropic has introduced something around negotiation, and again, it's I don't get it, right? Like just literally haggling on the price. 100, no, 50, no, 90, no, 60. I don't know what it is, right? I don't know why would anyone use this, right? But negotiating against data is something that has actual value for consumers and for brands, and I think that's the missing piece that we bring. Also, it's not easy to do because we can, like, we have in a sense solved the dilemma of either privacy or trustless protocol. But either you can trust your agents, or you don't see the data, and we can actually do both, right? You can trust the agents and don't have to see the data, right? That's the unique part of our tech.
If a $3 million Shopify brand is listening to this right now and they want to actually do something with that this week, like what are the first 2 or 3 steps that they should take?
Well, there's actually only one step. haggl.ai/ecom, complete onboarding, and you're in. You get this snippet that you install on your header. We're going to release in the next few days. It might even be already released, but Shopify app. We're just like waiting for the Shopify approval, but I think it's going to be live very soon. So you don't even need to do that. It's going to be even easier. And if you want to just, if you're just you don't know what to do, like you just go to haggl.ai and schedule a call with me. I'm always happy to talk to entrepreneurs in the space. I think it's a fascinating space, and we're all learning together, figuring it out together. So I'm also learning a lot, and this feedback helps me also designing a better product that works better for everyone.
Anything the brands can do without the software that helps, like for example setting up anything on the website that ensures that the agents can consume all the information?
Yes, there's a lot to do. I think there's many companies who do that specialize in GEO, right? Like how to be discovered by those AI agents. I think that helps a lot, and definitely they should do it. We're talking about something a bit different here, like not whether you are going to be part of the training set of those LLM engines. I think that's a different issue. But considering and assuming that you are part of this training set, and ChatGPT knows about you, how do you convince them in real time when they ask about whether there is any discount or what are the prices right now? And then they will scrape your website or your product feed in real time. How do you catch them at this moment and convince them to recommend you, right? So it's like two different parts of the funnel. Plenty of companies are taking care of the first part, right? And I think obviously any e-commerce brand should be looking into this. I think it's obviously I see limits to this. I think it's 100% necessary, but also very likely not sufficient.
Yeah. To end this podcast, I want to do a quick lightning round. Basically, for 4 questions, just reply, with a quick statement.
Sure.
What is a brand or a business that is ahead of the curve on this that most people haven't heard of?
It's a brand that understands that 2 years from now, their main customer is going to be an AI agent. So like everything they build, everything they plan for, when they build products, they try to they imagine that they're selling to AI agents and not to humans.
Do you have an example of a brand that is doing that?
No, unfortunately not.
Mm.
Okay. Not in the e-commerce space. We have customers in the utility space. Big customers, they think ahead of the curve, right? And they understand that when you sell a commodity today already, there's no reason to sell it to a human, right? There's no reason, right? Like again, if you sell electricity or if you sell gas or if you sell coffee, it matters less. Like coffee maybe is a bit different, but electricity, it's an electron to my house. That's all I care about. And they understand that there is no way people are going to still, look into their Google results, click on ads, and call someone. There's just no way that it's happened. So they're ahead of the curve. I think in e-commerce, we see a bit, a few months shift delay. They're just like trying to starting to get into this topic. And I think for good reasons, right? It makes sense that it's delayed. It's because like the adoption will also lag, probably from the buyer side. It makes sense.
What's the most overrated thing e-commerce brands are focused on right now?
GEO, easy one. I think it's a very problematic space. It's very easy to sell GEO today, right? Because it's FOMO, right? Like that you don't have a choice and you have to do something, but you don't really have a way to really measure this and look at the data. So you just want to feel that like you're doing something, but it's very difficult to see how you're making progress. Like what benchmarks are there out there? For what kind of models is it working and other models not working? When are they getting released? And so like many promise from those GEO consultants, and very small outcomes until now.
You've already had 2 exits and ran product at Waze. What does building Haggle feel like differently?
So I think it's very different this time because it's the thing that might kill us is being too early, right? So it's not getting into a pain from brands and trying to solve it, right? It's anticipating the pain and creating the opportunity. Right. So it's very different. I think all the trends are tailwinds for us. We'll see more and more buyer adoption. We'll see more and more adjacent commerce protocols that will make it easier to connect for brands and for vendors, easier to use better UX also for buyers. So it's only it's all tailwinds. But I think that's my fear today for the first time is not being too late, is being too early.
Interesting. And if you could send one message to every Shopify merchant who's never heard of agentic commerce before, what is it?
Yeah, I think I would love to talk and understand, like, understand from you, like, what is top of mind for you. One thing that everyone can do, even if you don't, you know nothing about the space, and you have no idea what I'm talking about. It's just, install our endpoint, install our app in your store, and just like see how much you're getting scraped, right? Just so you know what's the status is, right? Don't do anything with it. Don't negotiate. Don't give discounts. Like, just don't do anything with it. Like, you don't have to decide now. Just like get the data, right, and see how fast it's growing, and then you can decide, right? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's a fad. Maybe your category or your specific brands. No one will ever buy it through agents, right? No one will ever research it. Maybe, right? I doubt it, but it might exist, right? But maybe there's also strong urgency, and you're just blind. You just can't see it, and that's the big problem. And that's something that it's zero risk. And I would really recommend, every vendor, not only e-commerce, to start, looking into this and understanding what's going on. Like, how many visits from agents do I get every day?
Yeah. Yeah, because there needs to be the clarity and the data first. That's always also something that we recommend to all the brands before they make any big decisions. They need to have insights, they need to have the data and to understand like what is going on before they can make the decision whether they need to make like a big strategic shift. Yeah.
Absolutely. You always have like those visionary entrepreneurs who say, like, I'm going to make a bet on this, and I'm going to invest in this because I understand it's the future. But as you said, and you rightly asked, okay, like, most people aren't that. Like, it's they don't think about AI. They think about building great products and selling them. Right. This is their obsession for, like, and then this is what it should be. Right. They don't think about those things. They just need to get convinced that this is something that is worth their time and their attention, because obviously they have a lot to do, many channels, and like, so much to do, operations and social media, and. So I understand it's an extremely high mental load. So I think it's on us to convince them, to show them that it's worth their time and attention.
Yeah. Raphael, really appreciate you hopping on. I learned a lot. I think it's such an interesting topic, and is also such a fast changing and developing thing. And like every time I talk to someone in this space, I feel behind, and I think
Me too.
everyone feels that way.
Absolutely.
Um,
It can be
yeah,
a bit discouraging. Every day you open X, and you say, like, what? Again, what I thought yesterday is, like, completely irrelevant now. Like, there's this new protocol, they built it, and this is picking up. Oh, then this is dead, by the way. Uh, it's very difficult to keep up. But it's fun.
yeah,
Well,
it's crazy, but yeah, exciting as well. You already mentioned it, but where can people learn more about that? Where can they reach out to you, follow you?
yeah, haggl.ai, schedule time with me, and I'm happy to talk 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or just say hi, send me a note on r@haggl.ai, and we can exchange it by email or online.
Awesome, sounds great.
Thanks, Andrej. Thanks for your time, and thanks for hosting me.